In 1999, the Summer Institute of Linguistics, under the aegis of the Bible Society of the Eastern Caribbean, publishes the New Testament and selected Psalms in Creole under the title Testament Nefla et puis en portion en livre Psalms là. Now that's a copy of the Bible, in 1999. I did think to bring a few sort of copies. But these days you only allowed 50 pounds on one piece of luggage. So, and this later on was supplemented by an audio version of the text, compiled in a set of 14 tapes. That was pre-CD, so it is tapes. So unless you have an old tape recorder, you're a bit of a problem there. Under the rubric, Pour moun ni la foi, ini putan. In other words, to have faith, one needs to hear the word. So there you have a set of 14 tapes, which is the audio version of the New Testament and selected Psalms. And now that work was in the main a grassroots project supported by a local religious community, one of the evangelical and Pentecostal churches in the country. But this represents an important contribution to the codification and recording of St. Lucian Creole. And this SIL, the Summer Institute of Linguistics, also published a new guide to the orthography under the title Manière ou sa li ek écrit Creole, How to Read and Write Creole. And that was supposed to be a transitional primer directed towards persons who can speak both English and Creole and who already know how to read and write English. And later on, there was a first primer entitled Li ek écrit Creole, Reading Lessons in St. Lucian Creole. In 2001, the Ministry of Education, Human Resource Development, Youth and Sports publishes a Creole dictionary to meet the need for an authoritative, affordable reference guide on Creole. We say affordable because Mondesi's work, being one of those specialist dictionaries, was the cost was really prohibitive and well beyond what most Creole speakers could afford. So this paperback Creole dictionary was published by the ministry, and it was the outcome of research and data collection done during the years 1984 to 2000. Still in 2001, the St. Lucian Model for Universal Literacy Project, which was conceived by a local publisher and entrepreneur. Now I say local just because the gentleman actually has made his home in St. Lucia, but he's not a St. Lucian. He's from the UK, and he has connections with Sweden. But he was a publisher. He loves Creole, and so he put his own money into setting up this publishing company, which he calls Enchenu, meaning from our heart, from us. And he had two objectives. One was the improvement of the status of the Creole language to instill a sense of pride and national identity among Creole speakers in the society. And the other one was the heightening of the awareness of reading as a tool towards self-improvement and self-awareness. There were 4 strategies that he used. We had a Creole literacy program for public servants. We had Creole classes for professionals, lawyers, doctors. There were adult literacy classes, and he did some publishing in Creole. So between 1998 and 2000, he published close to 100 texts and textbooks, as well as 2 dictionaries. One was a Creole English Creole dictionary, and another one was an illustrated dictionary with a workbook for students of all ages. All use local writers, local illustrators, local private financing, and local printing facilities. And that series was put in as a television series, which was called Bonjour Saint Lucie, which was used ready to promote the use of Creole by literate non-Creole speakers. So the foregoing, that is from 1980 to 2001, these are some of the significant developments in the use of Antillean Creole, which is the name that was given to, that emerged out of those two workshops in 1882, the French Antillean Creole. But many other initiatives, as well as from individuals, as well as institutions and organizations, have been undertaken in our drive to promote the use of the language among the general population. For example, there's a long-standing work of Pro-Vice Chancellor Hazel Simmons MacDonald, and she's there, and her vernacular education project in St. Lucian schools. There's the work of the Folk Research Center through its Creole Language Committee. The increase in the number of students taking up Creole linguistic studies at the University of the West Indies, St. Augustine. Everybody comes to interview me. I keep telling them I'm going to put it on a CD or tape, and when I get a request, I just give them the tape. But it just shows that there is an increasing corpus, of work on St. Lucian Creole, which is available for research, but also for use by policymakers. There's the institutionalization of October in St. Lucia as Creole Heritage Month. There's the increasing use of Creole in popular theater for public education. And there's the established use, of course, of Creole in the media. But unfortunately, there were some good initiatives that we were not able to sustain. And one such was the Creole Discourse and Social Development Project. Again, that was one of the brainchildren of Professor Carrington. It was aimed at enhancing the acceptability of Creole in domains previously reserved for English by producing, on the one hand, a cadre of persons who could serve as resource persons in 4 spheres, in news and information broadcasting, in health education, in post-literacy activities, and agricultural information. And on the other hand, it was aimed at producing a glossary of terms for use in these sectors. But that initiative fell through, the momentum was lost. But that project of lexical expansion and standardization, to my mind, is even more necessary today than it was then. So to conclude, ladies and gentlemen, as I said, I confine myself to the St. Lucian experience because it is the one with which I am most familiar. I had argued about a decade ago, I think it was in 2000, at one of the conferences of the Society for Caribbean Linguistics, when it was held in St. Lucia, that the very regional distribution of Creole in the Caribbean called for a regional response. A response that would bring to the study of the various Creole languages in the region a much-needed multidisciplinary approach, one that would have the technical and financial resources to implement programs across the region. I had suggested then that it could have been called the Caribbean Creole Studies Institute, and that it could have found a home within the University of the West Indies. I had argued that after all, we had the Cultural Studies Institute, the Cricket Studies Institute, the Pan Studies Institute, so why not a Creole Studies Institute? But I have seen a few regional recommendations lie fallow for lack of will or leadership. So I would like to hope that this charter being submitted for consideration by the regional, political, academic, and civil directorate can fall on good soil and yield results by the 100-fold. Ladies and gentlemen, I thank you.
Thank you very much for that riveting history lesson, Your Excellency.